All righty, we are live for the final of the first ever Clarity DAO pitch competition. I'm very excited for today. We have 4 awesome projects pitching. We also have 5 awesome panelists here to provide feedback and ask good questions, tough questions, so that as DAOs we can learn more. So I'm going to share screen real quick, set the scene, explain what it is, what Clarity is, and we'll get going from there. And also, big thank you to everyone for being here. All right, so here we are. I'm going to prime the final of the Clarity DAO pitch competition here. So with Clarity, I always like to start out these calls with what are our 3 guiding statements, our 3 guiding principles. And the first one is our massive transformative purpose. And really, all we want to do with everything we do, what we want to do is enable decentralized innovation. And we do this because our vision is that we believe human prosperity will be decided at the intersection of cutting-edge technology, in this case, blockchain, transparency, and human collaboration. So we see the opportunity for blockchain to, put transparency into existing systems to create a better world and cause, widespread and global human collaboration on a scale we've never seen. So we're really excited about that. And in order to accomplish this vision, what we do is our mission is to make equitable global financial and governance systems more accessible. And to do this, we're coming out with a few different products. So I'm going to quickly just show you what Clarity will hopefully be launching by the end of the year. And it's this platform. So how it works is you're able to connect your wallet. And after you connect your wallet, it knows what governance tokens, what assets are in your wallet. So it knows what DAOs you're a part of. So you can kind of come here and explore DAOs. So you can see, this DAO, they have this many proposals, they have this many token holders, they have this many voters, and you kind of explore them. And then you can also, one of the core functionalities is to create a DAO. So this is what that looks like on our platform. And the goal was to make this a completely non-technical experience. So you'll start off with just putting in off-chain information. So you're going to put the name of your DAO, the description of your DAO, your logo, your socials, and all that good stuff. And then this is when we get to the exciting part. So when you fill out this form and you submit it, you're actually populating something we would call the governor smart contract. So you put in the policy ID of the asset that governs your DAO. And you can also set governance thresholds. So how much of this governance token do you need to hold in order to have the power to create a proposal in this DAO? And then for the proposal co-signing, how much governance token needs to co-sign this proposal for it to move from the draft phase to the voting phase for execution. And then you can also set the proposal approval. So is it 51%? Is it 70%? And then the other things you can do is the draft period length. So you can set or proposal kind of timeline. So how long is the draft period? How long is the voting period, etc. Also on the platform, because you know what DAOs you're a part of, you can also see all the proposals that you're involved in. So you'll be able to click in, you'll be able to see proposal details and cast an on-chain vote right there. Another thing you can do is easily create proposals. And these are also smart contract templates. So say you wanted to create a proposal to spend $1,000 to hire a developer. You could click this, you get the spend treasury funds proposal, and you're able to fill it out and submit a proposal to your DAO. The last thing is Clarity does handle staking to DAOs. So you have to be staked to the DAO in order to receive voting power. And this is to protect from things like double voting. So you have to be staked to this DAO for the duration of a proposal in order for your voting power to count. You can always remove it, but that's just how we go about that. So that's, there will be more features such as ability to introduce centralization in some ways, like whitelisting wallet addresses so that only certain wallets have the power to create proposals. And other features like that. And we're constantly talking to all you guys in this competition to understand, what is it you guys need? What are the things that, what features can we add? So we're always open to having those collaborative conversations because we're really building this for you guys, for all the DAOs. The other thing to talk about is another product that we're building. We're actually going to launch this soon. We're making it production ready. It's the application that everyone has been using to cast their votes in the Clarity DAO pitch competition. So you come, and this can also serve as kind of a guide of how to cast your votes. So once you have your NFTs in your wallet, you can come to our Bounty platform. You can connect your wallet, and your voting power will show up. My computer's going a little slow right now. Okay, so I have 5 of these NFTs in my wallet, so I can go in and cast my votes. So you see we had all these first round matches where you can click in, you can see how the round shaked out. Oh, look, Directed DAO won. That's why they're here, about to pitch. And right now we have 2 live bounties. So really DAOs can submit feedback, and the winner that gets the most votes gets 300 ADA, and you can do other things. So right now we have this live bounty. So who's going to win the DAO pitch competition? All you have to do to vote is click up, and it will calculate your voting power there. So what we're doing with this application is we're going to allow DAOs to put their own custom UI, pick their own colors, and then use it for their governance portal. They can pick the policy IDs that serve as governance power. So we're excited about those things. And then now let's get into what we're all here for, the Clarity DAO pitch competition. So here we are. This is the bracket. We have from session 1, Sports DAO got voted in to the final. From session 2, we had Directed DAO. They were a surprise 15 seed that made it into the final. It's pretty sweet. Over here, we have Charity DAO, which I think is an awesome use case for DAOs because of the transparency aspect. Then now we have, in session 4, we had School DAO, which is also a very cool use case. And I'm excited to hear everyone's pitch today. Prize pot watch. So the prize pot is dependent on how many of these NFTs sell. So we have, if we sell 97 more NFTs, the prize pot goes from 5,000 ADA to 15,000 ADA. So tell your communities, say, hey, we're in this competition, and let's make this worth all of our time and get this prize pot up. So without further ado, these are the contestants: Charity DAO, School DAO, Sports DAO, Directed DAO. And I would like for all of the panelists to come off mute and just briefly introduce yourself. We'll start at Ben, then go to Chris, then go to DC, and move down the list like that.
I guess that's my cue. Hi there, everyone. I'm Ben Hart. I'm the Director of Cardano Operations at MLabs. I'm excited to see your pitches. I caught a few last week. Excited to be here.
Hey everybody, Chris Borders, lawyer by training. I work exclusively on Cardano projects these days as sort of outside general counsel for a number of DeFi projects like Sunday Swap and Indigo, and I work with DC on Liquid. Yeah, I've been involved in blockchain for a while, and then before that I was a tech lawyer, so I've been to a lot of pitch competitions, worked through a lot of decks with a lot of clients, and super excited to see what you guys got for us today.
Hey everyone, my name is Dwayne Cameron. I'm the co-founder of Liquid. Our team also helped build Agora alongside Clarity, DAO, and a few other DAO-focused projects on Cardano. I'm really excited about just human and resource coordination, especially at the Web3 blockchain layer, and some of the tools that we have for extending traditional organizations and how they work on chain. Super excited to see all your pitches. I've been here myself in the early days of Liquid, so definitely know what this process is like. Thanks.
Hey everyone, so my name is Patrick. I'm founder of NMaker. My goal is always to make the Cardano space bigger and onboard the real world into the space. So we're creating Web3 architecture infrastructure basically to launch projects, and I'm very excited to be here. Yeah, I love listening to new ideas and hearing pitches, because that's that's how it goes. That's how the great projects are being born. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Glad to have everybody here and very much looking forward to the presentations. I had known the team through Stanford Network, where I was also an alum, and I was part of the early maker team responsible for the go-to-market of DAI, and since then been many years in this space in a number of different roles, including advisor to Audius and launching several other projects. And these days spending most of my time on a Web3 think tank, thinking about large-scale distribution of blockchain technologies to different countries and infrastructure. Very much looking forward to what you guys have in store for us today.
Well, thank you, everyone. And this will be the pitching order. So first up, we'll have Richard and Charity DAO. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes, and then you can get feedback, and then we'll move on to school DAO after that, and that will be the cadence of the rest of this call. Richard, you are on mute if you are trying to talk.
That was way more difficult than it needed to be. Okay, so my name is Richard. I'm the founder of Charity DAO, and I am here to talk to you guys about a little bit of what we're doing. And I do want to take a little time to just thank all you panelists. The things that you've done is, you know, it's why we're here. We wouldn't be able to be building these kind of projects without people like you. So I'm sure we've all seen recently with like FTX and Luna that centralization is basically the weak point in the armor of our ecosystem. If we're ever going to have real world adoption and decentralization, we're going to have DAOs, and we're going to have to get them done right. So Charity DAO leverages blockchain technology to facilitate transparency and donations for nonprofits. First of all, why build a DAO? Well, the Cardano community charity coin needs a DAO for governance and donation selection. Our community will decide whether and where those funds are used. We also want to promote transparency for nonprofits by setting the standards ourselves. We've seen organizations throughout the years who raise millions of dollars for some need, and only a small portion of that gets to the people who actually need it. This kind of corruption is fueled by the lack of transparency. Additionally, we all know that good blockchain tech makes everything work faster, better, and more secure. So we aim to expand the adoption of decentralized practices and technology in charity communities. And obviously, we want to utilize the efficiency of crypto for sending value instantly worldwide. Sometimes when time is of the essence, like with natural disasters, for instance, being able to get donations where they're needed quickly and securely is paramount. So how are we going to help? By pairing emerging projects on Cardano with nonprofit organizations, we can expand the use of decentralized apps like DIDs, DAOs, and supply chain tech in a meaningful way. We can facilitate the transfer of donations to various charities transparently. This includes direct donations from individuals and regular donations derived from our fee structure. Holders also of our token get a say on how the treasury is used and what charities receive the donations. This allows us to allocate funds for future development, advertising, overhead costs, anything else that might come up. The 3 pillars of our project are the tokenomics, the DAO itself, and the outreach program. With the tokenomics, every time a charity coin transaction takes place, there's an 8% fee that goes to the treasury. This is paired with our burn and reflection mechanics to promote an upside potential and incentivize new retail investors. Additional details about all this can be found in our white paper. The Charity DAO ensures accountability and transparency. Our community has access to DAO platform where they can pitch ideas or vote for development, or charities that want to get donations. Despite us only being in beta so far, we already have 89 users waiting for launch. As we donate to charities, we also onboard them with tools that can enhance their organization. We're forging partnerships with other projects on Cardano like Clarity and ScanTrust to provide a very useful selection of tools to present to all these nonprofit organizations. We're not only on-ramping in the crypto donations, but blockchain technology as a whole. And again, like Clarity, to promote transparency and decentralization. That's like the whole point of everything. Pretty short and sweet. Feel free to check out our website at ccccoin.io or at Twitter at ccccoin.io. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to questions. And I'll go ahead and post a link to our white paper in the chat if anyone wants it.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. It is now open to the panelists. You have 5 minutes.
Should we go in order that we introduced ourselves, or just jump in? What do you prefer, Logan?
Jump in.
Hey, Richard. I had a question about the donor control, right? So when someone makes a donation, they often want some control of who's going to get it or what project it will be used on by their target beneficiary. Does your system engage with that? And is it?
Yes. As far as individuals or groups of people who want to donate to something specifically, we can facilitate that for them, make sure everything's done transparently, the money goes where it's supposed to go. And we'll also do a check on the charities they're wanting to support to make sure that they are transparent themselves and on the up and up.
How do you do that? How do you monitor the charities more efficiently?
Mostly it's going to be due to like developing a relationship with them, reaching out to them. Most of these places will voluntarily give you some information if they're about their bookkeeping and that sort of things. If you're wanting to give them a donation, if they're really secretive about all that, there's probably a problem there you don't want to mess with.
Kind of the nature of nonprofits are required to make their books open, obviously, under the 50C3. Okay, I'll pass it off to other people who've asked their questions. Thank you.
Hey, Richard, this is really cool. I have a quick question.
Sure.
You know, I think about DeFi DAOs with Liquid and what we're building, and, you know, MinSwap is one of the, you know, partners I saw you guys were working with. How can this be done like fully on chain in like a DAO to DAO mechanism? Like where, for example, if MinSwap or Liquid Governance wants to initiate a proposal to send, you know, some of our DAO's revenue towards, you know, this charity DAO, how could we do that? Sending it directly to your DAO treasury. I guess would it be that simple, like sending some amount to you guys? Like, what's the kind of flow here of funds? Is really
a lot of this is going to be kind of ironed out once like the DAO platform is up and functioning. We're going to have a place for members to come and do their votes, but also outside people who aren't necessarily holders of our token, like say they want to use their treasury to donate through us, we'll have like a link, some contact where we can, you know, just kind of work out the details and find out where they want to send it, and we'll put it all in a smart contract, you know, and try to have it executable, hopefully through the Clarity protocol.
Awesome. And just question, how does it work currently with MinSwap?
Right now we have our version 1 token out. There's none of the burn mechanics or anything like that are enabled yet. Version 2 should be out soon. We're working with MinSwap and MuesliSwap to write smart contracts that will work on their platform to automatically do all the fees and everything to the treasury, where there's no middleman trying to touch it.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
I have a question around like if you're trying to attract donors, one of the primary ways to do so is taxation benefits.
Right.
So how would I, as someone who participates as a donor, and I recognize a lot of this is very jurisdiction specific.
Right.
So how can I report on my my donation efforts as a participant? What do you do to facilitate that?
Well, once everything's up, we're actually getting in touch with legal counsel. We're planning on setting up the DAO itself as a nonprofit organization, separate from the I guess the coin. That's going to be probably an S corp. And so anytime you donate through that charity DAO, of course, we're going to have a record, and you know that should be applicable to your taxes.
Okay.
Just like any other donation.
So essentially, you're going to be writing tax receipts for, I guess, in turn for the donations that are being made by the DAO. Essentially.
Yes, and we'd like to also work on something with our holders and the DAO, because they're involved in the charity and some of the funds, you know, in that are because of them. We want to see if we can maybe get some kind of tax write-off as well, just for being a part of the DAO, but that's going to take a lot of legal work.
Yep. Mostly just wanted to see that you had plans in place there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Richard. One more question for you over here. So as you're thinking about the user flow and the kind of value that is getting transmuted across the ecosystem, can you speak a little bit to what the composition of the DAO stakeholders would be and how you're going to align incentives for those who are actually voting on where the money is going and making sure, like, how are they incentivized to make if it's not their money, if folks can be in the DAO without actually donating? Like, what is that? How does that align? And how do you make sure there's a checks and balances system to make sure that the money's being voted to go to the best place?
Right. Like with what the Clarity protocol has set up, where you can kind of adjust, I guess, a percentage for votes to pass. That's going to be our first line of defense for someone trying to do anything malicious. But again, for incentives, we're going to have our own stake pool. We have a few servers here we have set up already. We're building hopefully a Hydra server on one and a couple other things. And so in our stake pool, if you're staking the coins and you're participating in the DAO, you're going to get extra Cardano community charity coin rewards straight to your wallet every epoch. So kind of like an ISO, but you get like a boost to your ISO rewards if you participate in the DAO. Did I answer all the questions, or did I miss something?
Maybe
We'll
one
wrap
last
up.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I think I'm lagging a little bit. Sorry for that. Anyways, so yeah, so the one thing that I was curious really is at the core of the project, like why exactly is it a DAO? You had a nice slide, but I still don't 100% get it. Like, what's the benefit of having this as a DAO instead of just having, a smart contract that sends it transparently on the chain or something like that?
Right. Well, we will be using smart contracts to send it transparently, but the whole point of this is for decentralization. If it's just me and a bunch of smart contracts, that's not decentralized. We want everyone in the community to have a voice, and this whole organization that we're trying to build, we want it to be as transparent as possible and not controlled by any one person necessarily, or group of people. So without the DAO, it's just centralized garbage, in my opinion, and it will lead to corruption. I mean,
and who would be like the main members of the organization? Will it be random people that are interested in the topic, or will it be like the big donors and stuff like that, like,
right.
for example,
we have a token, the Cardano community charity coin, and everyone who holds that token, as long as they have we haven't set the minimum amount or anything yet, but as long as you have that in your wallet, you can join the DAO. It's the governance token of our DAO.
Okay, I see.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. Amazing job. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing screen. And then up next, we have Robert and School DAO. Same cadence as the last one.
Right. Let me get this presentation here. Okay. So this is a DAO pitch for schools that engage in decentralized education, where students have autonomy, a role in governance, and can take official positions within the school. The problem we face is threefold: trust, efficiency, and adoption. And the issue of trust itself is also threefold. The first factor is that a public charity, nonprofit school, gaining the trust of those who may serve as benefactors of the community is a challenge. Allowing benefactors to track how their funding is being used, as well as the governance around the use of such funds, will foster greater trust. The second factor is that of families. In maintaining the established trust with the families is also a challenge. Ultimately, families have been our greatest benefactors, and they trust that they are leaving their children in good care. And maintaining this trust decreases our attrition rate, and one way we can accomplish this is through allowing for greater transparency of our use of funds, and governance will go a long ways to maintaining the trust that we worked so hard to achieve. And the third factor is maintaining trust within the school itself, particularly as students get older. A growing need is expressed with regard to how funds are used, what rules are created, what issues in general the school needs to resolve. This results in greater and greater participation in governance. Attending and voting in the weekly school meeting, for example, the judicial committee meetings, and any other committee or corporation that the students may be a part of. Having easier access to the Treasury and an immutable form of governance is something they've been asking for the last several years. Sudbury schools such as ours operate as a sort of pen and paper DAO already. When the pandemic hit, we instantly had to move our operations online virtually overnight. We needed online governance, treasury, you name it. We never got where we needed to be. DAOs fix this, allowing for on-chain decentralized governance, transparency of the treasury, and disbursement of funds. Decentralized education needs a decentralized monetary system and vice versa. As more and more children and teens are introduced to the world of crypto, its original intent and modern innovations, the greater real-world adoption will become. Sudbury schools and schools like them have been operating as DAO-less DAOs for over 50 years all around the world. There are thousands of Sudbury democratic and free schools from the United States to Japan and Germany and so on. We've been operating for 8 years already, and our structure is geared for a full spectrum DAO, maximizing just what it is that a DAO can be used for. All right, now be open to questions.
Thank you so much. Very much looking forward to seeing this. And I think education is one of those institutions that is really prime for a lot of innovation and different community structures. And there's certainly been a lot of experiments over the last few years in trying to test this out. So I think it's a very interesting space. Can you speak a little bit to, for the DAO members, like what is the commitment that folks are making by entering, and then what are they specifically receiving out of it? And then how do you enforce, what are the checks and balances for folks for enforcing that kind of mechanism?
So beginning with our school and any other school that would like to make use of this type of DAO structure, it's primarily for the community of the school. And each member includes staff / teachers and students. And it's one vote per student or staff. And so it wouldn't be a system where you can buy several tokens and have a greater power in your vote. And this is how we actually conduct our meetings now. The governing body of the school, which is the school meeting, is open to all students and staff. Even 4-year-olds are able to come in, voice their opinion, and vote yes or no to carry or fail a motion.
What are the examples of motions that get brought up? And is it the minutia? What about the administrative aspects? It's a really interesting system you guys have set up.
So we have actually a decentralized structure within all facets of the school. And so the school meeting creates committees to kind of delegate power outside of the school meeting and decrease the pressure on it within the weekly meetings that happen. So the school meeting is every Thursday, let's say from 1 to 3, and we will address things ranging from finances to whether we should introduce a new fee for enrollment so that we can support a new sub-corporation of the school meeting. An example of that was we created the Digital Art, Science, and Media Corporation. And that's now responsible for the school's internet, for all the computers and things like that. And students and staff are a part of it. And in that corporation, you get $144 a year per student. And then that's tallied up. And then we know how much spending is available. And so in the structure of a DAO, that subcommittee, or it would be like a sub-DAO basically, could more easily access these funds through the treasury system, which would be great.
Nice. Yeah, I wanted to ask about the sub-DAOs. So you just touched on that because it seemed like this was set up for a lot of sub-DAOs. But how does operating a DAO help? I mean, on transparency or record keeping? Are there any benefits to this versus your what you're saying, your pen and paper version that you've been doing for some time?
Yes, like for example, we have a central bank account that only a few of us have access to. And so then, we would go to the school meeting and then we would talk about it and vote on it. And then maybe myself would be dispersing the funds. And students are generally not a part of the withdrawal process or the depositing process. And, with a DAO, it actually allows students to be more engaged with that, and having our entire treasury within the DAO would be taking this type of school to the next level, in my opinion. And, it is true that as a 501c3 nonprofit, all of our tax forms are publicly available, and we have these things. It's just the more steps involved with it, the less people engage with it. And so the more easy that is to access, the better it is for everyone that wants to be involved with the school.
1 minute left in Q&A for School DAO.
I don't really have a question. I just have some general thoughts. So the thing is, I just learned more about your DAO and idea in this Q&A than I did in the actual pitch, because to me it wasn't. I wasn't aware of the school and the philosophy behind the school, and it was kind of missing like an example, a practical example of like what problem does this DAO solve. And now I can see it. Now it makes sense, but it wasn't really clear from the pitch, to be honest.
Yes, that is incredibly challenging for doing a 5-minute pitch for a project as big as ours. We fell into that trap the first pitch, where it was basically going to be a 20 or 30-minute pitch.
Yeah, it's like one of these typical things, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to apologize for not having a ton of questions. We've spoken quite a bit about the DAO outside of the competition, so I feel like I had a lot more clarity going in than perhaps the other panelists.
That's right. Yeah, I was able to meet with you at Rare Bloom, and we talked a good bit about it then.
Awesome. Well, great job, Robert. School DAO is really cool. And up next, we have Sports DAO, which is actually me. So backstory, I wasn't really planning to like advance to the final or anything, but the community came through and gave me a lot of votes. So here I am. But I'm very excited about this use case for kind of a DAO structure. So I will chat through it. So yeah, today I'm going to be talking about sports DAOs, and what it's all about is enabling sports teams to leverage Web3. So the opportunity that I see, that a lot of people see, I think, is that sports teams are in a unique position to operate community-run organizations, because there's a large number of passionate fans and community that support the same club and live in the same local area. So they have a lot of aligned incentives. So really the purpose of this sports DAO type of project would be to help sports clubs and franchises create new revenue streams, create positive press, and enable their community to create local impact through this DAO shared community treasury. So what does that really look like? So you could say a fan or a community member of the club, they buy a membership. This membership might be an NFT that burns after a year, however the club wants to design it really. And then once they buy the membership, they get an NFT and some governance tokens. It's sent to their wallet. On the other side of it, the funds are distributed. So you get a revenue stream for the club from the sales of these memberships. Clarity or Sports DAO would make some money. And then most of it, the large majority, would go to the community treasury, which all the token holders have control over and have governance power over. You can also take direct donations to this treasury. So similar kind of a question came up with Charity DAO about that. So that's kind of a high level flowchart of how it might work, very simplified. So in order to spend this treasury, you have to have a governance system, a proposal process. So in order to create a proposal, a threshold could be made so that you have to hold a minimum amount of this governance token, or you can gate, what individuals have access to create proposals. So as I talk to a lot of GMs and stuff, they're like, we don't want any fan to be able to make a proposal to spend this treasury. What if they do it a malicious way? So that's kind of a safeguard from feedback from different GMs that I've gotten. And then you kind of have the community cosign phase where this is what decides whether it goes from a draft phase to the voting phase. So if it passes, people vote. And if it doesn't, the proposal dies. And if it's yes, the proposal executes. But yeah, that's kind of the treasury spending logic. So what can you use? What am I imagining that this type of treasury is used for? Events. Maybe a DAO hosts a pregame event at a local pub where everyone in the DAO gets free drinks. Or maybe you have a community bounty where the DAO offers $1,000 for a group to pick up litter in the local park. Or maybe the DAO wants to pay for a few scholarships so that academy players can go to a private school because they don't live in a good area. Really anything like that, the community can come together and do really anything they want with this shared treasury. So I'm excited to say we actually have a first adopter. It is something called a football farm. It's something that I've been fortunate to get involved with in the last month or so. So it's a private 25-acre soccer facility that has turf fields, tech ball tables, and 2 full fields with lights. And our mission is to teach young people perseverance, confidence, and reliability. So there's 5 youth teams that call the football farm their home, and they have training centers all the time. It's a really cool community, and a lot of the kids are like best friends. It's a cool community. So how it will happen is if we win this competition, funds will be inputted into the football farm community treasury. I will set up all of the board members with a Cardano wallet at our next meeting, and then we'll mint a collection of football farm community NFTs. I will give these NFTs to the board members, and then we will start, using the Clarity Bounty app to have these votes and actually decide on how we want to spend these funds. So the first 2 proposals that we've talked about as a board is to fix the electrical problem to enable all the field lights to turn on. So right now, this is the football farm. These lights, 2 out of 6 come on, and it's really just an electrical problem, so we'd have to hire an engineer. So, the teams are playing at night, and it gets dark really early these days with daylight savings, and it's just something that would make the experience a lot better for all the kids. And then also, we'll have a proposal to fund 4 scholarships of players that want to join the club, but they're not able to pay. Their parents aren't able to pay, so this would be a way for us to be able hey, you can still come. We found a way to pay. So I think that's pretty cool as well. And really, that's just scratching the surface. The football farm is where we start with sports DAOs. So we already have interest from a USL general manager, which is the 2nd division of American soccer. He's been talking to me and Christopher Corey. He's a football farm guy. He wants to create a DAO to create a more engaged fan base and also vote on players' transfers, which is pretty cool. And then in with me is Christopher Corey. He's actually the owner of the football farm, and he is the guy that led the committee that put in Miami's World Cup bid to host some games. So he's very well connected in the space, and he's starting to wrap his head around how sports franchises can leverage DAOs. And then just my network. I grew up playing professional soccer. I grew up playing with a lot of guys there in the Premier League. Some of our advisors are connected to the owner of Crystal Palace, and this guy also owns a club in France. And then just a lot of the players on the U.S. national team through Stanford connections, a lot of women's national team players, and just through my connections growing up. The American Outlaws seem to be a good use case that has expressed interest in a DAO structure too. And this is the supporters group for American soccer, and they put on events all the time. So really, I'll stop there. I'm excited about this use case. I think the communities around sports franchises are ripe for disruption, and it is a space where I can see it being adopted earlier than other spaces. So, yeah.
Logan, I think it's a great idea, and as an American Outlaw member, I like the concept of being able to vote. I think that's terrific. But how do you kind of deal with the club or the benefactor of this to give benefits? Because it seems like the club might take some funds, but what are they giving back? Like obviously American Outlaws has a lot of membership benefits when you sign up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a very club by club basis. The high level thing that I see is that clubs and owners of clubs, oftentimes the fans don't like them, right? So if they can give kind of a platform to the fans for them to have more of a voice, I think that's a good thing. But they also just want to make money. And this is a way to engage fans in a new way. And the fans can see how it works transparently instead of thinking that, oh, they're just trying to have a money grab from us. So I don't know exactly how it works. I don't have a perfect answer, but I guess that's my answer for you. And then I went a little over, so I only have 3 minutes left of Q&A.
I'll ask a question. Like, you and I have spoken about this, and more in the context of Clarity DAO, but I'm curious about, like, if this wins, what are your actual plans to bring it forward as a separate entity necessarily from Clarity DAO itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting line to draw. I mean, I imagine that if I'm part of a team that's getting this into the hands of sports franchises to take advantage of kind of this new technology, they will be using the Clarity infrastructure. But I think that's the cool thing about like the Web3 space is that you can work on different projects. If you're good at one thing, you can kind of do it for a few different projects. So yeah, I also don't know if that answers your question.
I'll take it.
If there's nothing else, I can pass it off. Okay, and now we will go to the last DAO of the day. Simon, I welcome you up on stage, and he's going to be talking to us about Direct Ed DAO. Simon, we can't hear you right now.
How about now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Oh, wait, it just went off again.
Like the headphones.
Now it's on.
Yeah, I'll just do without the headphones. I just said that was a lot of D's, a lot of, and you're gonna get more from the Directed Development Foundation. So great. And I do feel like there's a very strong theme here with education. So my name is Simon Sellström. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Directed Development Foundation. And I've been working on this since last year in September, parallel to finishing my master's in economics at the University of Oxford. So what is the problem that we are solving? First of all, 500,000. That is the number of IT professionals that are lacking in Europe. And this is a trend that's been growing over the past 7 years, but the number of developers have not been increasing. In fact, it's actually an opportunity because the COVID pandemic has accelerated remote work. 38% of companies are looking to hire more. Now, why is this not really something that is being grasped on the continent in Africa? Well, there are many problems here. First of all, it's hard to identify talents. You know, there are millions of people, but how do you really figure out who the right people are to hire? But even if you can find high potential students, they are very unlikely to have the computers and access to the same kind of world-class education that you may have in Europe or in the West. And furthermore, let's say you are interested in donating. Well, as you all know, corruption is a big problem. As much as 10% of Kenya's GDP was claimed by one of the ministers to be lost to corruption. So there's a lot of middlemen cutting and taking a bit of the money that you would want to perhaps, give to the students who don't have the resources. Moreover, even if you give students the money, you give them donation, well, what do they do with it? Well, perhaps they don't even actually pursue the degree or pursue this course of studies. So there's a lack of accountability. Lastly, there is a lot of asymmetry in terms of the power dynamics. Generally, whoever has the money decides everything. This is not optimal. If you have the money and you sit in a wonderful building in Oxford, say, then you might have some idea of how things work and what is most efficient. Then in reality, things on the ground are most likely to not actually be the way you imagine it sitting in your beautiful office. So what you need is some kind of governance system to allow people on the ground and other stakeholders, be it firms, be it schools, be it the students, to also be able to participate. So what is our solution? It is scholarships for coding boot camps using digital identifiers and blockchain technology. And that includes DAOs, as we're talking about today. So how does this entire thing work? Well, the first thing that happens is that you have donations coming into smart contract scholarship pools that are designated for a specific school and a specific coding course. So that could be Kagumo High School in Nairobi for JavaScript full stack in MERN stack. Now, at the same time, what we do as an organization is we have a selection. So we go to these schools, we sign memorandums of understanding, and we have a rigorous selection mechanism using the latest research in psychometrics and behavioral economics. What then happens is that the students, they progress through the course, and as they reach milestones based on projects that they do, they receive verifiable credentials that prove that they have actually completed this. And only if they show that verifiable credential to the smart contracts will they get the next batch. So this creates the accountability that I mentioned before, but it also creates the kind of directness. So you're not actually relying on a trusted third party, but rather you have an administrator, which is a smart contract that simply disperses it upon receipt of the receiving the proof. Lastly, they enter employment. So if all of the assumptions are true, that we can produce these, identify the talents and train them, they're going to get a job. And that is what then creates this positive self-reinforcing cycle of funding for future scholars. So they actually contribute back to the scholarship pool. And throughout all of this, all of these actors get governance tokens that would allow them to actually influence the direction of all of these parameters. So that's the donor, it could be the coding boot camp, the teachers, and it's also the students. So, and then lastly, of course, we have to have impact evaluation. We need to have accountability and measurability of what the outcomes are, because transparency doesn't really matter. I mean, if you see where money is going, but you don't really know what the effects were, because that's really what you care about at the end of the day. So why blockchain? Well, first of all, as I mentioned, you need digital identity wallets. You need to be able to connect this crypto wallets with identity. And once you have that combination, that's when you get transparency by design that matters. You can't just send money to a alphanumeric string like a public wallet, because I went to Binance Charity and I saw these alphanumeric strings, but it doesn't matter that much because I don't know whose wallet that is. So with all of that, you get increased trust and you get more donations, you get less fraud, and overall just more impact through this directness, cutting the middleman, and also through the willingness to donate. Well, what we also do is the continuous reporting, rigorous impact evaluation, but also lastly, why a DAO? Simply put, inclusive governance for all stakeholders. In the status quo, in any charitable organizations, all power resides essentially with whoever has the money. You don't have an opportunity as a firm to change whatever this charity's focus. You don't have the schools, you don't have governance powers to the students. So in our vision is not just to have monetary-based governance, but also have merit-based or stakeholder-based to create a more inclusive system. So that you don't have just whoever has the most money can decide. DAO is simply a technology. It's a way of mechanism, and tokens are just some kind of accounting system. It doesn't have to be attached to money or getting a return. So what we have achieved so far, we have signed, as of 2 weeks ago, we signed a memorandum of understanding with Kikumu National High School. It's the number 6 high school in Kenya. We also conducted feasibility studies at Kotebi High, testing out our cognitive tests. We also have a website quite well developed, and we're hoping we can deploy this actually on Sunday. So this is a bit like preview, where you're going to be able to donate. And then you can see some of the designs here. There are more cool things that I might reveal, but so that includes an NFT art collection, which we're developing with some AI colleagues here that have a generative art. We also have plans for donor dinners in Oxford for the ones who donated significant amounts, and naming rights to people who donate, so you can actually decide what is the name of this cohort, like the Simon Selstrom Scholars or whatnot. Now, this our roadmap is really to get this donation platform going and scale our programs. We also want to our really big vision is to raise the incomes of the students. So by 2025, we hope that the 1,000 scholars that go through our program has achieved $25 million in higher lifetime earnings. But that's going to require a lot of funds from donors, so we're looking to fundraise from all kinds of sources. Ultimately, my team and I come from a very privileged background. We've all been very fortunate throughout life. And this is our way of really giving back. We could have gone into the city of London, moved money around for people who have more money to make more money. But we chose to focus on this thing, on giving opportunities to those who haven't been given opportunities. So I'll open the floor up now for questions, and I'll also remove the double here, critic array. We do not have 2 critic arrays.
That's good. Thanks, Simon. That's obviously a very advanced project, right? Well thought out and up and running. It's very similar to a project that Atala Prism, the Cardano project, is doing in Ethiopia, I think, where they're connecting digital identification to students and monitoring their progress and certifying their progress. So I think you're on the right track. I guess what I was wondering is really what the role of the DAO is in this. It's certainly not central to it because you already have a target donation for donors. So they're not voting on where their money goes, sort of like Charity DAO. So how do you think of the DAO as improving this structure?
Yeah, so as opposed to Charity DAO, we have a purpose that is more specific. They have a purpose that is more like, okay, generally charities, let's decide on what we should focus on. In our case, one of the decision variables is, for example, the naming rights. So there's something that I mentioned that before. Someone can purchase a naming right, but is this something that we want to accept? Like, could we use any name? That would be an example of a question that could be decided by the members of the DAO. Another one is the decision on as to what type of pools, what type of education do you want to support. So let's say, I mean, you can focus on Plutus, for example. So as I speak to various community members, there are some people who say, yeah, I think we should set up a pool to have Plutus pioneers, or we should invest in Atala Prism. Because the thing is, if you have a lot of if you come to a website and you see 30 different pools, that's going to be overwhelming. So what we're planning is that we're going to have like 3, 4, 5 campaigns running concurrently. So it's kind of like Kickstarter, which means that you have to prioritize. You have to have some kind of mechanism for deciding which 5 charities are posted on the site and exactly which languages should they be dedicated for. So, in Charity DAO, you pick between different causes. In a very similar way, you pick between different programming languages, different regions, and perhaps boys' school or girls' schools. So there are various decision variables that you can that are important. And also, Athalaprism is the reason why we worked in Ethiopia as well. So we're actually very well involved with them. One more question for Directed. Yes, sorry for the long answer.
Maybe I'll jump in. So I was just curious, do you have access to actually the people who are receiving the funding directly? Because I think this might be interesting for companies, sponsoring the DAO in a way and giving in money. And then if I'm, for example, Google, and I sponsor some sort of, I don't know, programming course or so, it would be amazing if I, have direct access to the people who now go through the course and then can hire them immediately afterwards. That moves it away from being a charity in a way, but it gives it an actual incentive.
Yes, definitely. So we we are incorporating as a charitable organizations in the UK, but we might, in the future, perhaps it turns out we cannot scale without being a for-profit company. But as of now, we're a non-profit, and yes, to answer your question, we wanted to be able to, you should be able to track the students one by one. And get contact details for them and see how they're doing and see their GitHub repo. So that's part of the design.
Cool. Very cool, actually.
So if you see on this page, what would happen is you see first an aggregate view because you support a specific high school. So you see all of the students, and then you can click that school, and then you can see all the students and exactly how they're doing. You can see their GitHub repo. You can see like what the milestones that they've achieved. What does that really mean? So if you're interested, you can check their code if you want, and send them a message on Telegram.
And you're launching that on Sunday?
We're not launching all the features on Sunday, and on Sunday it's just a more simple MVP. We just want to get something up. But so all the designs here, that's the latest UI designs. But the front end developer here, there's a simpler version essentially.
Yeah, right.
But we'll see if we're going to be able to get everything up by Sunday.
Cool.
But yeah, it's December before Christmas is the main launch date, and then we'll also have the nice NFT collection as a small gift to the donors.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate it. Directed DAO rocks. Well, thank you to all the DAOs and thank you to all the panelists. I'm wrapping us up here. As a reminder, the winner will be decided on the 19th of November, so that's in a few days here. You have till 11:59 Eastern time to vote. And yeah, if there's any questions for any of the DAOs specifically, you can join the Clarity Discord server. Then each DAO has their own specific channel. If you want to find the core team of this DAO, I think there's like 24 DAOs in there now. So yeah, thanks to everyone. And then the last thing I'll say is 97 NFTs for the prize pot to increase by 10,000 ADA. So tell your communities, I really want to make it worthwhile. And then the last thing is there is a split of the prize pot. Our community voted that 70% of the pot goes to first place, 20% goes to second place, 10% goes to third place. So keep that in mind. Every place matters. But thank you to everyone. I'm going to end the recording, and a special thanks to the panelists for taking time out of their busy days to come give feedback. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.